Okay, good morning. So, thank you for going. I'm streaming this live at the moment, so we'll take any questions as well. But what I wanted to actually outline this morning was a project that we developed with DNV, which starts to look at how we can better support the clean energy agenda and actually be able to develop energy in one place and then deliver it to where the global demand is highest. So I'm Sean Rogers, I'm the UK MD of Apple Offshore Wind, part of the Apple Horizons Energy Group. And we've heard quite a bit at COP over the past week, actually, about how the world can and must achieve its global climate targets, the agreed climate targets. And it becomes very clear that we need to accelerate the introduction of more sustainable and renewable energy sources to achieve this, and the technology that backs that. But in every future scenario that we look at, we see that offshore wind plays a very significant part, actually, in the energy mix going forward. We also know there's a challenge with offshore wind, in that a large amount of it today still remains stranded. So 80% of the world's energy and wind resource actually resides in water depths greater than 60 meters and up to about 2,000 meters. So outweigh the range of the fixed bottom wind developments that we see predominantly brought forward today. But actually, if we could capture that resource, it would actually deliver about 11 times the global power demand that's needed. So it's quite a prize that's worth going after. And for ourselves in ACH Solutions, for ourselves in the ACH group of companies, with about 180 years of focusing on the energy and the maritime industry, we wanted to look at how we could capture that energy and how we could do it cost effectively. And the challenge isn't just the distance from shore or the depth, it's also the fact that the highest and greatest amount of offshore wind energy actually resides in areas where the global demand is not highest. So if you look at the IEA's offshore wind global outlook analysis report, you see that the majority of the really good deepwater wind exists in the northern hemisphere, and particularly around small island masses, where the energy demand is quite low. So we face the challenge of bringing it back over long distances, deep water development, and then a low energy demand, which all contributes to making it unaffordable, basically, for the consumer. So this was the challenge that we wanted to take on. So with our partner, DNV, we started a project, we developed a project, and we call it the Northern Horizons Integrated Energy Project, where we've actually looked at how can we develop wind at scale, up to 10 gigawatt, and how can we harness and develop that wind energy and convert it to other forms of energy where we can export it for global use. So that was the challenge that we put in front of ourselves. And we selected Scotland as the site to be able to develop this project. So as a company, we've been present in Scotland for over 40 years, with a lot of history and a lot of knowledge here. So we selected a site to the northeast of the Shetland Islands, around about 136 kilometers to the northeast of the Shetland Islands, to develop a 10 gigawatt wind site and then convert that into other forms of clean energy for export. And we picked 10 gigawatts because scale is important, actually. Scale is quite important in terms of deep water wind, which is some distance from the shore, in terms of being able to get the cost effectiveness and the energy efficiency to actually work for us. And the technology is not new. We need to continue to improve the technology, but it exists today. So, as a company, we've been involved in about 60% of the floating wind structures in operation globally today. And we also have a proven design for floating wind, the principal power wind float design, which has been in use for the past 10 years. And we continue to optimize that design and the innovation. So again, we need to keep optimizing. We need to get the affordability of offshore floating wind as close as we can to what the consumer expects as well. But these are all incremental steps that we can take. But as I mentioned before, the Shetlands is a low power demand, and even if we took that power back to mainland Scotland, there are grid constraints, which would mean it'd be difficult to transport it effectively down to the southeast, where there's a greater power demand. So again, our project looks at what we call power to X. It looks at capturing that wind energy, its conversion, in this case, into hydrogen. So 10 gigawatts of wind into 5 gigawatts of hydrogen, and onwards into different products where there is a global market demand today, and also products that are easily exportable as we go forward. So again, in addition to our offshore wind capability and knowledge, we have a hydrogen development company as well, and we also have a subsea development background. So for us, we see this project as being achievable achievable today with some challenges, but we can move forward. And we need to think at scale. I was at an event this morning with the First Minister of Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, and the whole conversation was around scale, acceleration, scale, acceleration. So again, this was why we wanted to develop this project, to be able to show what we can contribute. But even with our enthusiasm and our knowledge, we also engaged with DNV, who are these sort of leading independent experts, energy experts, to be able to help us to develop this project and independently verify whether this was something that could move forward today, whether it was technically feasible and economically feasible. So now I'm going to hand over to Ditlev Engel, who's the CEO of DNV Energy, to actually explain the project in more detail.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jo. So, slides. There we go. This one, yeah, the first one there. So I would like to read out some of the details, because I think it's very important to understand, to really get into what are all these details, because I think most people try to understand the sort of the concept, what we'd like to achieve, as Sean said, in the both the ambition and the opportunity. But maybe, so while I read some of this out, you can have a look at this this overview to start with. So the solution of the project is of course the conversion of renewable power to green hydrogen on offshore floating production platforms, with subsequent processing to produce the remaining products in a net zero refinery for onwards export by pipeline or ship back to emerging markets in the UK and Europe. Our solution builds upon existing technologies and expertise in floating production systems from the oil and gas industry to de-risk the development while providing a lower cost solution to existing power over large distances. The production of green hydrogen will address the challenge of land requirements and availability onshore, while providing hydrogen storage capacity within the export pipeline. Although generation of green hydrogen provides the most suitable export medium and has been seen previously in other project proposals, this could still restrict the project to a single product and future market uncertainty, and therefore our solution also contains further production of clean products from the net zero refinery. Now, taking power and hydrogen from the offshore floating resources, the refinery provides a flexible production route to target future value and markets as they develop, obviously, across the various streams. Green ammonia production provides a flexible product with multiple established target markets globally in the decarbonization of the current gray ammonia market, predominantly used for fertilizers, but also in the growing markets of decarbonizing green fuels and power generation. Green hydrogen can also be exported via dedicated pipeline to the Scottish mainland, where it could enter the national transmission system and be used in both industrial and domestic heat decarbonization. All of this could be achieved within the time frame currently proposed for blue hydrogen development and could be a game changer for the UK. Now, the portion of producing liquid hydrogen provides a fuel cell grade hydrogen product targeting transport and power application for demand centers that are limited in their ability to generate and source. Finally, by combining imported biogenic CO2 with hydrogen, our net zero refinery will generate a mixture of carbon neutral synthetic fuels for decarbonizing the transport industry, with the aviation sector providing the most challenging global emissions sectors with a viable and cost-effective net zero solution. Now, during this, our project proposes development of net zero refining in the existing, and I hope I say this correct, Sullom site, providing sufficient existing industrial land for the development while providing the transition for skills from traditional oil and gas sector into a low carbon economy. The project will provide zero carbon power and products into Shetland to support decarbonization of the island cost power, industry, fuels, and heat. The installation of new green hydrogen export lines to mainland Scotland will provide 10% of the UK's hydrogen demand by 2035, with enough energy to provide annual heating for 9,000 homes. The existing deep water port as Shetland provides a potential global export route to further products with the annual liquid hydrogen production capable of reaching 40% of the annual UK bus mileage. And the annual synthetic fuel production used in aviation will provide enough low carbon fuel for 750 round trips to New York from the UK, while our production of green ammonia would provide annually enough to replace 10% of the globally traded grain in the zero emission alternatives. So, looking at the economics, the use of clean product generated by the Northern Horizon Integrated Energy Project would provide annual CO2 savings of 7 megatons per year, equating to 15% of the total emissions in Scotland in 2019. With initial electrical generation from the project planned for 2030 and reaching full capacity by 2035, our techno-economic modeling requires a staggering $21.6 billion investment across the project build-out, translating into annual direct and indirect jobs, creating of 9,800 roles, with a peak job creation of around 23,000 as the highest. Bundling product values against the equivalent fossil fuel alternative and applying the Treasury Greenhouse Guide for valuation of CO2 emissions, we find returns from the project to be positive across low, central, and high emissions. And finally, let me say that at DNV, we are delighted to be asked by ACH to support them in this project. And obviously, although things are just now on the slide, then I think it's also seen from our perspective important to say that this is building on a lot of technologies we understand, a lot of capabilities we have. So it is really moving to the next level, which is the whole foundation of the thinking behind this. Because most people will probably ask, is it realistic? Is it possible? Indeed it is. It's more a question of if this is the way that, for instance, we would like to focus on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dick. And just to add one more thing, I think to re-emphasize what Dick said. One of the main drivers for us in this project was clearly to support the needs, the global need for clean energy, and also to be able to show the benefits of an integrated energy approach. But we also were really keen, we wanted to support the just transition agenda in Scotland and the levelling up agenda across the UK. So Dick has talked about 10,000 jobs annually. But again, when we looked at this project, we looked at how do we phase it? How do we give enough time for the supply chain to get ready? How do we actually phase it so there's a continuity or a pipeline mixed in with other projects that are going ahead as well in Scotland? All of those hugely important. It's very easy to say we support the supply chain or we support industrial growth, but it's actually putting it into action by planning our project to be able to deliver it. So I think that's probably the other aspect of it. But you know, you've heard from Dylan and myself. I think we think this project is achievable. It's achievable if we move forward now. It depends if we have the ambition as a country, as a nation, and in terms of these individual projects. So thank you very much for your time.